Welcome back to another session of Daily Current Affairs. My name is Aishwarya and I am representing Gallant IAS. So let's move on to today's topic. So I have quite a few topics with me today. Like I have 3 mains topics and 4 prelims topics. Now let's move on. There are some hurdles to overcome before becoming a digital India. So now you can see everybody is using UPI now, everybody is using Google Pays and all now. We can see this kind of transaction from the bigger office to even with the hands of small vendors. So that is how the digital economy has been growing in India. There are some push factors like after the monetization, you needed some kind of transaction method, and also during the COVID time for like contactless type of transactions, these type of digital payments, UPI and all has seen a huge and tremendous growth. Now UPI has been introduced in 2016 and this kind of transaction has grown in value and volume. Now see this graph here. See, this is how the UPI has been increasing. The UPI has been increasing 6%. That is not annually but monthly. The UPI has been growing 6% monthly. This is compared to other modes of transaction. Now we have here IMPS, that is the immediate payment service. You can see here it's like hardly making it to the top and its growth percentage is only 3% per month. Now we have NEFT, National Electronics Fund Transfer. We are seeing a decline growth in how the NEFT is growing. Compared to IMPS, it's hardly touching or hardly competing with UPI. The NEFT has been seeing a decreasing trend. Similarly goes to debit cards, credit cards and other prepaid mode of mechanism payment. The UPI has been transforming the economy, our digital economy in India, and has been growing monthly 6% compared to the other modes of transaction. NEFT is growing only 3% per month. The debit card is growing only 1.5% a month. Compared to all this, the UPI payment is growing 6% monthly. So that is what is written here. The popularity of UPI has been increasing faster. Now, there was only about 20% inclusion of UPI in 2021. Now it's about 27% in 2023. That is how the value of UPI in the digital retail payment systems are growing. So we need to know how much of this is true. Like every one of us using digital transactions of UPI for easier saving of money and for transaction and all. How much of this is true? What is the stand of India in the digital economy? Now let's move on to that. I have a few tables here. I'll be taking in detail for you. Now you see, as per the World Bank Global FinTech Survey, in 2014, the number of people in India who had bank accounts was just 53%. In 2014, only 53% of the population of India had a bank account. Now that was increased to about 80% in 2017-2021. It's a milestone. See, 80% of the people India is having a bank account. But the reality is that only 42% of these accounts are active. The 38% of these accounts are inactive, or the people are not using these bank accounts. Why? Because we were pushing Jan Dhan Yojanas and other zero balance account, which people wanting to meet their target. So the officials who want to meet their target made people create these accounts, and now these accounts are not used by anyone. It was just to meet the target that these many accounts were created, and now 38% of them is inactive. India has the highest number in the world, has highest number of inactive accounts in the world. Now see, 80% of people have an account, but 38% is inactive, and it's the world's highest. Now, if you are moving to the category of how the inactiveness occurs, if you are taking the gender gap or gender based, the woman has more inactive accounts, like 32% of the woman has inactive accounts compared to 23% of the men. Like both rural and urban people has taken considerably same amount of bank accounts, and there is no divide in between them. But the rural people has more, like 31% of inactive accounts compared to the urban 23%. Also, if you are taking the India's poorest of 40%, out of this 40% poor people, 35% of the accounts is inactive. Compared to the 60% of the rest, is only 22% of the accounts are inactive. Digital usage gap, male 41%, Women 28%. So these are the comparisons of how the inactiveness of bank account spans across the gender in the urban and rural area and the societal gap and so on. So you see here the digital transaction over the years. This is not 39%, this is 35%. This is not 29. In 2014, the digital transaction was about 22%. Compared to 2017, it is 29%. And presently in the year 2021, this was 35% in 2021. You can see an increasing trend, 22%, 25, 29% to 35%. But if we are comparing to the global average of the developing countries, even the developing countries have 57% of average digital transaction. Now, India is the 5th largest economy. India has these many bank accounts, 80% of bank account. Even if it's inactive, our digital transaction is amount for only 35%. There is a gap of more than 20% here. The average digital transaction in the overall world, if we are comparing both developed and developing countries, even their transaction accounts for about 64%, whereas India lies only in about 35%. So this is the divide between India and the rest of the world. How the digital transaction in India is taking place and what is the ground reality of the digital transaction happening here. Now let's moving on. This shows a chart. There's a second chart about it, about gender gap also. You see here, this red or pink, as you can assume, is the female and the blue is the male. In India, there is a gap between the red and the blue over the years. Still, the amount of male who are using this digital transaction is more than the case of female. Now, comparing to Brazil, China and Kenya, the digital transaction done by women is equal to or almost same as that of used by men. Comparing to India, like that is what is shown. Even if we are above Bangladesh, but also big digital economy like India, where we prove our powers, where we are growing in the global sphere, India, comparing to this, the gender digital transaction is very poor compared to other countries. So even while India has a big stride, India still has a long way to go if India wants to achieve the digital technology or digital transaction, or basically if India wants to become digital India. So that is what the whole article talks about. Now let's move on to our next article. We have state lacks response to lynching. So here we need to know what particularly lynching is about. What is cow vigilantism and what does the Supreme Court has to do with all of this. Now mob lynching. I may have done some crime. Maybe I would steal something or anything. Okay, now I am not taken to a court or I am not taken to a police station, but a group of people decides my fate. Now that is called lynching. They may torture me, they may kill me because they feel like if they are going to the judiciary, it may take a lot of time. So it's better to give me the punishment I deserve. These group of people decide the kind of punishment that I should be getting. Now, even without a trial in the court, even without this break of my fundamental rights, okay, so without even administering justice, without even giving a trial for me, this group or this mob is deciding what to do with me. That is what is mob lynching is called. They may torture the person, they may kill the person. That is all comes under the mob lynching. So what is cow vigilantism? What is vigilantism? In general, vigilantism is same as almost I have been saying, like the group of people decide, which is not legal. They decide on what and they take law into their hand. That is called vigilantism. Now what is particularly cow vigilantism? In India, about 2/3 of the states in India, beef is banned. Consumption of meat is banned in India. Now to enforce this, there is a group called cow vigilantism. They are actually extremist Hindus who actually force this kind of legislation of people that should not consume beef into the other hands of the people. Like in particularly in Punjab and Haryana, in cases and all, we can see that particularly there, this beef ban is forcefully enacted by the Hindu extremist groups or the cow vigilantism. There have been cases like a person, a 22-year-old Muslim man was mob lynched by a group of people just for transporting cow into the state of Haryana. In another case where a person was suspicious to have been carrying beef in their hand, he was also lynched. There were other cases like it's all based on assumptions or even seeing transporting a cow, like they are completely violating the fundamental rights, and they are taking the law into their hands. That is what the cow vigilantism about. In some cases, the police constables or the home guards were also watching, and they were not participating. They were not actually helping the victim of this as well. So these are some of what is cow vigilantism is called. Now recently, the National Federation for Indian Women, they have filed a petition in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has asked the Ministry of Home Affairs and Government of Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Bihar, MP and Haryana to respond to this petition that has been given. Now there has been an important judgment, Supreme Court judgment regarding this. Like there has been Tehseen as Poonwala versus the Union of India judgment. So we need to know what this judgment is basically all about. The Supreme Court told that it was a sacrosanct duty of the state to protect the rights or protect the lives of the citizens. Also, the authorities have the principal obligation to prevent any kind of vigilantism that is happening in their area. Also, the Supreme Court has ordered to keep a police officer, design a nodal police officer who is above the rank of Superintendent of Police, that is SP or SP rank or more, in each district to prevent such case of lynching activities, and also immediate filing of FIRs, and not people or the police watching the events unfold. They have to take FIRs immediately if any case of lynching has happened. Then proper compensation to the family of victims is also suggested by the Supreme Court. If any of the police officer or administrative officer fails to comply with any of these, they will be taken for negligence and misconduct, and a charge can be taken against the officer, and that charge is not just limited to the service role, it can go beyond that. So this is what the Supreme Court has stated in case of the Tehseen S. Poonwala case versus Union of India in 2018. These are some of the guidelines that the police office departments have to take in case of mob lynching incidents and to prevent vigilantism. Now, what is the issue with mob lynching? As I have told you, it is an infringement of my fundamental rights. It is violating my right to equality. It is discriminating me. It is against the right to my life. That these people, without even a legal sanction, are taking a case against me or you, without even a legal framework. Now, in July 10, the Supreme Court has asked the states to file a detailed report about all the number of mob lynching cases that have happened since 2018. So, what are the solutions that we can find? We don't have a particular law now. That is why the Supreme Court has given a set of guidelines. Similarly, the Supreme Court has given a guidelines like Vishaga guidelines, like the protection of women from sexual harassment in workplace. Now, we have a new law for that, protection of women from sexual harassment in workplace. We have an act now. So, similarly, if there is no parliamentary act now, the Supreme Court gives some kind of guidelines for us. So, the solution is that we need a proper law, we need a proper framework to tackle this. Currently, all the mob lynching cases are registered as murder under the IPC section 300 and 302. We need proper laws just specifically for this case. And also, only states need to enact laws, and only 3 states currently have laws, like the West Bengal, Manipur and Rajasthan. Only 3 states have any laws for this. Also, the Supreme Court bench has agreed to a suggestion made by the Attorney General R. Venkataramaiah that the Ministry of Home Affairs should conduct a meeting with all other states to provide a basic solution for this mob lynching issues. So, this is what has been happening in news right now. Moving on to our next topic. Now, World Coin Project. This is a very interesting topic we can see in here now. This is actually created by Sam Altman. You may know him as the CEO of OpenAI, or he is the founder or creator of ChatGPT. Now, with this model, if we actually scan our retina, they will pay us some cryptocurrencies. Now, that is, if we are allowing them to scan our iris, our biometric details and all, they will give us free or cryptocurrencies. That is possibly the layman meaning of this World Coin Project is about. They are scanning our eyes, and each and every human being is different. My iris is not equal to your iris. If generating in my iris, they will generate a unique human ID. Similarly, for you, it will be a very different ID. So, no 2 IDs are the same. So, it will be creating a human unique ID, and we will receive some cryptocurrencies for that also. That is called WLD cryptos, and they will also generate a unique ID which is called the world ID in exchange. This is a kind of inspired from our Indian Aadhaar system, where we use the biometric system to actually give welfare to the people of India, so that those people need not go again and again to avail the benefits. With the biometrics, these benefits are equally available to all the citizens in India. So this is kind of inspired from our Indian Aadhaar system. Now, you see here, this device works with a base called orb. So this is the orb through which we see. This man is looking into this orb, and this orb takes the iris content. This is what is called, this scans our iris and generates a unique ID. Okay, now this orb, this is called the orb, it creates a unique ID, and we can call that iris hash, or it's a code, we can say that. Now this creates a very private key, and this unique ID or the private key is checked with the overall total catalog, and if this particular key is not present in the catalog, this key is also added into the catalog. So what is the basic use of this? Now you see there is a lot of data leakage problem and all. We are giving our names, email ID in each and every application we are doing right now. But with this unique ID, it's a proof of our personhood. This creates a unique ID through which we can go paperless. We don't need to give out our information anymore. So this creates a unique ID or a proof of our personhood also. With this we can do anything in the world. It's more like a global digital passport without boundaries. Okay. Now these orbs are done by some of volunteers called the orb operators. With the number they are adding, the more number of people they are doing, even they get some free cryptos in exchange. So that is what all about. This is called the orb. We scan our iris, and this orb creates a unique ID. Now see here, the users can also buy or sell the WLD, that is the world ID, without getting scanned or using the app. Now the technology used here is zero knowledge proof. This is an actually encrypting mechanism through which it actually proves or provides the privacy for the users, and their content or their data is not leaked or stored by them. Now this technology is also present in India. We can't say it's not present, but there is, according to the company website, there is starting of orb in Delhi, Noida and Bangalore. Now you see here, now they are taking our iris. You see, it may also be a leakage of our data, but why do they need our iris as well? Why do they need an iris to create a world ID? What is the significance or what is the use of it? They are stating that even after the company claims that the iris images which is taken off our iris that get automatically deleted after once it creates that unique ID or the iris hash or the iris code. But if I want the data to be stored there, they can even, unless the user wants the data to be stored there, the company can actually store it as well. But there is a major critic or the whistleblower called Edward Snowden. State that even if a person's biometric scans were deleted, like my ID is unique, okay, even if I do this again in the future, I'll get the same unique ID only. The unique identifier for the scan would match the future scans of the same person. See, that is what is the criticism, main criticism about this iris scan. So do you think, would you actually try this iris scan to get some cryptocurrencies in exchange? There is something which you need to ponder on. So that is all about the world coin. Now we have some prelims topic. 2 Indian military aircraft visit Australia's strategic Cocos Island. So you see, our Indian Navy Dornier maritime patrol aircraft and our Indian Air Force C-130 transport aircraft recently visited Australia's Cook Island or Cox Keeling Island, which lies in the southern Indian Ocean. See here, this is our Cocos Keeling Island that is present in the southern Indian Ocean. Now this island is very important for India because a lot of space cooperations and developments between India and Australia takes place from this Cocos Island. Now in the Cocos Islands, a temporary ground was created by Australia for India for the stationing of Gaganyaan mission. And also there has been a future discussion about the space cooperation between India and Australia and what can be done from the Cocos Island. There are other areas of research like the Earth observation, satellite navigation, space situational awareness, weather and climate studies that could actually take place from the Cocos Island, because that is actually situated in a strategic area. Also you see here, this choke point, that is called our Malacca Strait. With India being here, India and Australia can actually have a vigilant control, or actually place to monitor the Malacca Strait as well, because China claims most of our Indian Ocean region, and there is a huge presence of China in here as well, and China wants to control this Malacca Strait as well, because a large amount of shipments go through this way. Or else if China lose one of the strategic corridors, then they have to actually come in round. It is the most time consuming, fuel expensive and all for China. So China wants to control this Malacca Strait. So India and Australia combined together in this Cocos Island could actually take a closer look on the Malacca and watch out for China as well. And Australia is in the process of upgrading a runway, like 150-kilometer runway, so that bigger aircrafts can land in this Cocos Island. Now for the importance of visit, as I have already told you, there is increasing strategic reach for Indian military and Australian military. This base will also serve as refueling, because I told you the Malacca Strait is a choking point. A lot of transshipment routes come through this point, and Cocos Island can be a refueling base, and for also operational turnaround for the Indian military as well. Now it elevates the Cocos Islands as a strategic point. If we are conducting a base here with this Malacca Strait here, this Cocos becomes a very strategic point, as I have already told you, and India and Australia can also do air surveillance in the maritime choke points through the Southeast Asian and the entire Eastern Indian Ocean. Access to Cocos, and also there is a Christmas Island near the Cocos Island, which will help India monitor the movement of ship in the Indian Ocean region, especially Chinese influence presence in this Indian Ocean region. So this is all about that topic. Now moving on to Semicon India Conference or Semiconductor Mission. I told you in my last class in detail about semiconductor. The conductivity of a semiconductor lies in between an insulator and a conductor, and the main materials used are silicon is the mainly used. Now recently there was Semicon India Conference that took place in 2023. In that our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stated that India wants to become a global hub in the design, manufacture and also technological development in the case of semiconductors. So this meet was created by India Semiconductor Mission along with the Ministry of Electronics and IT. It is to meet not just our domestic demand but also export to the other globe and meet the global demand as well. Currently India's semiconductor industry in 2020 is just about USD 27 billion, but 90% of this in the semiconductor industry is based on our import. 90%. We import it from countries like China, Taiwan, USA and Japan. Now, India's semiconductor industry is expected to reach about USD 55 billion by about 2026. So, there is an important need for India to create our self semiconductor industry, because there has been high demands going on, because for everything from mobiles to laptops to aircrafts, everything needs semiconductor chips. So there is a huge global demand as well, and supply chain constraints due to COVID, and also China has recently put a ban on its export of silicon germanium as such. So there is a need for India to develop its own semiconductor industry. So now let us look into some of the India's initiative related to semiconductor. We had given out a production linked incentive scheme in 2021, US dollars of about 10 billion to encourage semiconductor and display manufacturing unit in India. Design linked incentive scheme I told you about yesterday in 2021 to nurture at least 20 fabulous domestic countries. The fabulous is especially looked in for design alone, not for manufacture or fabrication, just for designing the semiconductor chips, and they are expected to achieve a turnover of about 1,500 crores in the next 5 years. Then we have a scheme for promotion of manufacturing of electronic components and semiconductor. For manufacturing electronic components and semiconductor, we have our India Semiconductor Mission started in 2021. A total financial outlay of about 76,000 crores for the development of sustainable semiconductors and display ecosystem in India. Also semiconductor fab set up in India, and we are also giving out 50% financial support of the production cost in case of display fabs and all. So that is all about our India initiative related to our semiconductors. Moving on to our next topic, as I have already told you in my last class, last Sunday, that is yesterday, our PSLV C-56 launched carrying Singapore satellite called the DSAR along with 6 other satellites called nano satellites and other atmospheric coupling and dynamics explorer and such has been carried. Now this mission was this is a PSLV mission fit for New Space India, not fit for New India Space Limited. This New India Space Limited is a commercial arm of ISRO. The primary responsibility of NSIL is to enable the Indian industries to take up higher tech space related activities, and also for the responsible for promotion and commercialization of all the products created by ISRO. So this is all the news which you need to know about. It's a very small article. Now moving on to our last topic for today. African leaders leave Russian summit without grain deal. Now in my last class I told you about the Black Sea Grain Deal initiative which was done between United Nations, Turkey, Russia and Ukraine. Now you see, Russia and Ukraine are the world's largest producers and exporters of grains, wheats and all. So with the war going on, there has been a global shortage of wheat and wheat grains and all. So in order to meet and rescue the people from any kind of food security and inflation, a Black Sea Grain Deal was initiated by UN with the help of Turkey in between Russia and Ukraine, so that from 3 ports of Ukraine, that is the Odessa port, Kornomorsk and Units ports, the grains can be exported. Now, with Ukraine bombing the Kerch bridge which is connecting, the only bridge that connects Crimea and Russia, Russia has withdrawn from this Black Deal, and also Russia has bombed this Odessa port of Ukraine, by which it has actually blocked or unstabilized the grain missions as per the Black Sea. Now, with the grain deal breaking, there has been an increase in grain prices all over the world, and some of the Russian companies has actually profited from this. So, in the recent Russia-African summit, Russia stated that they will transfer the revenue from some of this profits to poor countries, and also they promise to start shipments of this grains of about 25,000 to 50,000 tons of this grains to 6 African nations in the next 3 to 4 months. Also Russia stated that they plan to send some free grains to some African countries like Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, Eritrea and Central African Republic. But Africa, they don't need the charity of Russia. What they need is the war to end and the situation to go back to normal. So almost this was a kind of failure. So that is all for today. Thank you and have a nice day. You can get the telegram from our Gallant IAS channel. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.